Hello there to anyone who might find this video. I'm Maximin. If you're here, it's because you're curious how the new custom worlds work in the 20W21A Minecraft snapshot. There isn't a lot of information out there on it, and it can be a little difficult for the average person to access if you don't know what you're doing. What I wanted to do was make a beginner's guide that would show people how to access these custom worlds and dimensions for themselves. If I talk about things that you already know, don't sweat it, because I'm trying to make this for people that might not know as much as you do. However, if you do know tips or tricks that I don't, please feel free to share that in the comments, and I'll try to include it in another video, because I'm just learning about this myself. Anyways, with that out of the way, I guess we can get to the actual video. So what I'm going to do is first just go over what you need to make this all work, and then what you have to do to load it up so that you can actually have your own custom worlds and custom dimensions. Alright, let's get to it. So the first thing you'll need is, well, Minecraft Java Edition with the latest snapshot of 20W21A, if that wasn't already apparent from the title of the video. If you don't know how to get the snapshots, at the top of the screen for the launcher, there is a tab that says Installations. Just check the checkbox that says Snapshots and create a new installation for the 20W21A snapshot, which at the time that I'm making this is the latest snapshot. Hey guys, it's Maximin in the future here. As you can see, there's a new snapshot that came out today, 20W22A. But if you go to create a new world and you go into the world options, and you can see that the import settings is still there. So everything in this video still works as of the new snapshot, for now at least. Next, you will need a text editor. Any text editor will do. If some of you are into programming, you might have more advanced ones like Sublime Text or Notepad++, but for this video, I'm just going to be using the basic Notepad that comes on all Windows computers. That way you'll see that it doesn't take any special tools to make this work. Finally, you're going to want to visit the link in the description. That takes you to the world settings generator made by Misode. This tool isn't 100% required, but it definitely is going to make it much easier for you to do this, because it's going to provide all the possible options for you without you having to memorize anything. It won't necessarily give you all the specific settings that you need though, so I'll cover some of the numbers that I've used so that you can play around with it and start making your own custom dimensions. So first, I wanted to clarify that these custom world options aren't the same as the ones that used to exist in 1.12 and before. You can't really change the generation of ores and such from what I've seen, but that being said, there is a lot that you can do. In order to create a world with custom settings, you have to import settings from an external file. It's a JSON file that it's saved as. They look like that JSON file. In order to get one of those, what you can do, and like an easy way to do it, is select another world, any other random world, and then under Edit, you hit Export World Generation Settings. And then that'll save a file to your app data for Minecraft, which if you search for %appdata%, it'll bring up this folder, and you go to roaming Minecraft, and then under your saves you just go to the name of the world, and that's where it'll save the old information, and then you can use that and edit it to make your own custom worlds and custom dimensions. Okay, so here's a little tour of the world generator page. This box right here is where you'll find your code. This is what you need to put into the JSON file to import into your settings for your new world. So the way that it works is, as you change things over in the options here, it'll automatically update this code. And then you can just go to the top and copy and then paste that into your JSON file and use that to import into your new world. So some of the options here are whether you want to generate features, that's like villages and portals and strongholds and such. If you want to spawn a bonus chest, you can type in any seed that you want here. That's Java seeds, I believe, are somewhere around from anywhere number from like -9 trillion to +9 trillion. And then here you can add your own dimensions simply by typing in a dimension name and then clicking add dimension. It comes by default with the regular dimensions already in there. So there's the Minecraft overworld, obviously, the normal overworld that you're used to. And then there's the settings that are default for the overworld. And then the same with the nether, Minecraft, the nether, and again, the default settings that come with it. You'll notice that the biome source for that is different than the overworld. We'll get to that later. And then, of course, the end with all of the end's default settings as well. And now you can also edit these dimensions and customize them too. For example, if you wanted, say, an end that wasn't based on islands, but instead was all a continuous landscape, you could do that. You could make an end that didn't have a void, for example, and then save that as the default end. One thing to note, though, is that you can only have one overworld and one nether and one end. After that point, when you start adding new custom dimensions, you can't identify it as the overworld. You have to put in the options manually. So I'll show you that right now. Okay, so let's just create a new dimension for now, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so this first one is going to be called 1. Okay, so we're creating dimension 1, and we hit add dimension, and you'll notice that right away this scrolls a little bit as the dimension is added. So you'll see here 1, and then there's all the settings that are automatically added for this world, right? So the generator, the type of the generator, the settings of the generator, and then the type of the world. And you notice that the type says ultra warm, natural, and it's different from these ones, right? For example, the end, the type is the end. The nether, the type is the nether. The overworld, the type is the overworld. That's because there can only be one of each of these. So if you designate a dimension as the overworld, then you have to change the overworld to something else or to default settings. And these are the default settings here for the type, right? So ultra warm is if water will evaporate instantly, sponges will dry out, and lava spreads further. Natural, if this is true, then if you have a nether portal in that dimension, zombie pigmen will spawn from that nether portal. If it's false, then compasses will spin around randomly and not give you any direction. Shrunk is similar to the nether, where it's every block that you move is 8 blocks in the overworld. Ambient light has to do with like how much general light there is in the area, and that is a number from 0 to 1. So like a 0.5 would be like half light. That's kind of the default, and 1 would be maximum. 0 would be none at all. Has skylight is if it has access to light from the sky, and has ceiling as if it has a bedrock ceiling. Additionally, there are some optional settings that you can have in here, like if you put fixed _ time, that can either be false, which is default, so time still moves, or it can be an integer from 0 to 24,000, representing the time that it is in a Minecraft day. So you could have a world that is set to permanent day or permanent night. And you can also have ender_dragon, and that can be true or false. And if it's true, obviously, then when you go to that dimension, there is an ender dragon boss that will spawn that you'd have to defeat. Okay, so once you've created your new dimension, how do you get this into your world? I just have to make a few small adjustments here. I'm going to first copy the seed that they give, and then go back down to my dimension of 1. We're going to put that into there, paste that, and then paste there. And then also here we're using multi-noise as our biome source. So we're just going to populate that with nether biomes. Okay. And then now it should be good to go. So you just go up to your code part up top and hit copy. And then into your text editor. This is a different one that I have in, but we're just going to overwrite it. Okay. And then we will save as 1, and then you have to hit all files, and it's 1.json, and that'll save it as the appropriate file type. Okay, and then once it's saved, now it's a JSON file. Then you can go into Minecraft, and then we're going to create a new world. Okay, and just for the sake of ease of exploring, we're going to go into creative mode, and then import settings, and then pick the settings file that you saved, and it'll say, warning, these settings are using experimental features. That's okay, as long as if there's a big blue box that comes up top and words scroll by really quick, that means something's messed up in the code. So since we didn't get that, it means that this should work okay. So we'll just hit yes, and then we'll hit create new world. And it'll just take a moment to load. Okay, so now we're all loaded in, and you do spawn in the normal overworld, just like any other Minecraft world. So how do you get to your new dimension? So the way to do that is you have to enter a command, and it's /execute in. So that's telling Minecraft you're going to execute this command in another dimension, and you'll see that the options are the overworld, the end, the nether, and your new dimension called 1. So we're going to execute in 1, and what are we going to execute? We are going to run TP for teleport at S, and then let's say we'll go to tilde for current exposition. We'll go 100 so we don't spawn inside of some rocks or something like that, and then tilde so that at the current position about 100 blocks up. Okay, so now it's going to reload the terrain, and you'll see here we are in a warped forest that is bordering a crimson forest. And just to show you that it is indeed different, there are the hoglins spawning there. It looks like maybe they are turning into zoglins. They are. So because this world doesn't recognize itself as the nether, even though the hoglins are spawning, they are immediately zombifying because this world isn't the nether. But you'll notice down here, underneath, we have stone, not netherrack. So even though it's got netherrack on top, the biome is netherrack, underneath the world is stone. Yeah, so this would be, I guess, a very dangerous dimension filled with zoglins. But here you can find, in this overworld type of layout, you can find all the nether biomes, right? Over here you'll see, of course, a basalt delta. We have ghasts spawning and everything from that little bit of soul sand, it looks like. Yeah, so we've created an overworld that's filled with nether biomes. So as you can see, there's so much that you can do with this. I've just scratched the surface so far, but I will go into more detail later. This is a floating island mushroom dimension. In this dimension, anywhere a village could spawn, a village will spawn. There's shipwrecks mixed all inside them. Some places are just solid shipwrecks, like right here. And then in the dark oak woods, mansions just spawn like right next to each other, right on top of one another. My computer was having a problem loading this one because it's so complex. This is a dimension that my daughter wanted me to create. It's based off the super flat settings, and it's just resources all the way down. Clay, coal, iron, quartz, gold, slime, lapis, redstone, emerald, diamond, all the way down to, at the very bottom, netherite. Here I made a dimension that was the end, but with overworld biomes. So here's the main end island, except it's a mountain and forest biome. And then of course, if you teleport out far enough, you have mesas, more mountains, more plains. You can see there's a shipwreck over there. So all the normal floating islands that you would find in the end are still there at the same locations. And there is end stone underneath as well if you dig down instead of regular stone. But instead of the biomes of the end, you have the biomes of the overworld. And even as you can see here, structures from the overworld. There's a bunch of ocean ruins that have all spawned together in close succession. And here's a dimension that's just wall-to-wall end cities. I will be making more videos showing you how to set up the settings to make some of these worlds for yourself. So if you want to see those, be sure to subscribe. And other than that, I will see you in the next video. Thanks for joining me.